Today we're joined by Jexpler, who creates 3D GFX art, performs the occasional speed build, and helps to run the group Roblox Fame. As always, my name's BanTech and I'll be your host for this episode. It's time to travel beyond the blocks. Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Blocks, the podcast all about the Roblox platform and game development. On this episode we're joined by Jexpler, and I'll let him give us a quick rundown on his background on Roblox.
Hey, I'm Jexpler. I'm a graphic design artist and I've been on Roblox for about 7 years now.
What brought you to Roblox to start with?
Well, when I first started I was just, playing games and stuff. It was actually my brother's friend got him into it, and then I was like, hey, I want to do this too. And so we all joined with the same string of usernames. It was explosion, then 3 numbers afterwards. And I was playing for a while until I kind of started getting into the group world, which kind of brought me here to developing.
What got you into graphic design then, or sort of GFX renders and things?
Well, I always thought it was cool when people just went from, screenshots of their games to actually trying to make it look cool. Like, hey, this game looks cool. Obviously, that's not what it's going to look like. But I've, take the time to make this cool thumbnail or a cool ad, and I just liked them for a while until I think I joined a Discord server for graphic design people just to kind of see what the community was like. And then I don't remember his name, but he kind of took me under his wing, kind of showed me the ins and outs of it before I started doing it for commissions and for other people.
That's cool. Do you just do that on Roblox, or is that something that you do outside of Roblox as well?
I've tried to get into 3D modeling stuff. Mostly I would try to do that in Roblox as well, but the ones I've done have just been kind of random stuff that I just thought was kind of cool, the Batman symbol ones. But for most GFX, it's all pretty much in Roblox renders and stuff like that. Okay,
cool. I suppose the sort of the techniques that you learn from it could possibly be used on other things too, because I assume you use Blender or Cinema 4D for that.
Yeah, because if you're doing that, you're learning how the ins and outs of the program, how that works. And one of my favorite projects I worked on, which I just did for myself, kind of helped me learn a bit some interesting stuff that could definitely be applied to other things. Like I did some grass. I did an interesting weird cape thing, which helped me learn about the cloth modifier and some interesting material stuff when I was making a lightsaber for it.
Okay, cool. I always get super interested by those kind of things because they do look sometimes really realistic, but obviously there's simplifications behind it and a bit of trickery with lighting and textures and stuff. So other than just GFX on Roblox, have you actually developed much in terms of games, programming, building, that sort of stuff?
I've done a few. I know a little bit of Lua that I've taught myself, just from YouTube videos and stuff. And I've done a few small projects, nothing really game worth. There's only about 2 really actually good games, which are one that's called The Brick and SCP-970. SCP-970, for anybody who knows how the SCP genre works, is an endless hallway. So my thought there was, how can we make an endless hallway without literally making the hallway endless? Because you can't make a hallway go on forever. And it seems to other projects where it was every time you go through a door, it just adds another segment onto the hallway. Eventually that would just cause a bunch of lag if you went for long enough, because it's just so many parts and the game needing to render a bunch of stuff. So I thought, what if I just get to the end of the hallway, teleports you back? The issue is, if you teleport a player, it kind of stutters. You can tell that something doesn't look really that smooth. So instead I decided I'll just move the hallway forward, which, since it's not modifying the character, it looks smooth and it looks like it's just one endless hallway that just keeps on going. And there are a few issues with that. Because if you were to get it far enough from the world origin, you would end up causing just lag from, just in general, anyone who's ever played on a game that has a really, really big map. Sometimes you might spawn really far away from the world origin, and everything just kind of looks shaky, everything kind of stutters a bit, and it's wobbly, and doesn't really look that great, and it causes some unnecessary lag.
Definitely, we've got a big game, Stepford County Railway, which is sort of a train game. And the map for that is pretty big and getting bigger each time we update it. And so for that one, again, when you get to the very edges of the map, you've got these they're floating point errors, I think. And just the maths, Roblox trying to solve maths that far away from the origin, it can't do small little decimals and things. So yeah, it's not great. You kind of want to stick to the middle of the map if possible. So I can see how that would be a problem. But what sort of inspired you to make that game? It seems sort of a bit of a random thing to just create.
Well, I've always loved like the SCP genre, because I always thought it's really cool because everything on there, every SCP is written by just like a fan or someone from that just read one and like, hey, I want to make one too. So they just did, and they went ahead and did that. And so and I've tried to write a few SCPs, didn't really succeed. I'd really been into a specific Roblox group. It had about 13,000 members. I even became a developer in it, which I was definitely way underqualified. But after I left that, I really thought, hey, I just kind of want to make an SCP to script one. I just thought it'd be kind of fun. And I wasn't sure which one I would want to do, because a bunch of the more like classic ones had already been done. And I thought I want someone that's a bit simple, and I don't want to do one that's like a person or a thing that, walks, moves. I just want it to be just like an anomalous object. And I'd really like the endless hallway idea, and I thought it'd be kind of not too complicated to script. It'd just be a fun project.
Yeah, that sounds quite cool. You should do a little Halloween update for it to make it creepy.
Oh, bet you that'd be fun. Pumpkins or something in there.
So I assume that project required a little bit of Lua knowledge, and you said you knew a little bit as well. So are you sort of actively learning to script, or was that just a few little bits you picked up along the way?
Well, I started trying to learn Lua a few years ago. I just thought it'd be fun because I'd seen a lot of games. I thought I want to make one too. And as I said, I'd been using like YouTube videos and stuff. And well, my Lua knowledge is pretty good. It's mostly like the advanced like techniques, like really specific stuff, algorithms, and just some of the more complex logic that I struggle with, which is why something like that wasn't too hard, because it's mostly just moving positions, events, stuff like that.
Okay, what was your take on sort of the process of learning to script? Is it easy? Is it hard? What sort of things did you find that helped you?
Well, I'm a fast learner, so a lot of things just kind of naturally come easy to me, especially a lot of math stuff. I've always been really good at like math and just different subjects for that in school. And so I wanted to start learning it, and I already knew just like a little bit just from like random videos I just watched on people making scripts. Just stuff I got from it, like how properties work, and just kind of the more self-explanatory stuff. And then I started watching a series from a YouTube channel called Peace Factory. He's been criticized by a few people I know just because it's kind of outdated. It's not super, like if you were an advanced scripter and you went back and watched them, you think this is not really quite right.
Mm-hmm.
However, for someone that's simple, for someone like me who can kind of just is good at like interpreting information, I was able to kind of separate and figure out like what he was saying without, taking incorrect information and kind of sorting out all of the appreciated stuff just from experience.
Okay, that's cool. So tell me about that other game then, The Brick.
That was when I just wanted to make something stupid. Well, it started out as me I was experimenting around with the clone function. This is when I just knew kind of basic stuff like, if once something gets touched, do this. So I was trying to learn a bit more. It's not really an advanced thing, just a bit more, less of the super, super basic need to know stuff, and more like if you actually want to do something with the game, because obviously the clone function can be very important in a lot of stuff. So I was like, hey, when I click this brick, I want it to duplicate, and then you have 2 bricks. It would just be like the standard, part that you spawn in that's like 4 by 2 by 1 or something. And so eventually I thought, hey, this is fun, and now I understand the clone function works. What if I made it try to crash your computer? So the way it works is you spawn in the game, and all there is a brick. And you click the brick, and then every 0.1 ticks, it would duplicate, and then the duplicated brick would have a random size from I think like 0 or 1 by 1 by 1 to 10 by 10 by 10 for each, so it could be like 3 by 10 by 4. And then it would have a random color, and just every point, and then it would also have that same loop, so every 0.1 ticks, every part would duplicate it with a random size and color. And I can never get to crash my computer. I don't know why. I think it's just because as the game lags, tick speed obviously is not directly linked to seconds, so ticks become really, really long. So essentially the game just kind of stops doing its thing and doesn't keep, duplicating bricks.
Mm-hmm.
But then recently I changed it where now we spawned in a box, because I discovered that if I don't spawn the person in a giant box that's protected, they get hit by one of the parts. I'll explain why in a second. But it hits you so far, you get teleported tens of thousands of studs away from the world origin, which, as we established earlier, really messes up your character and stuff. And you ended up falling. Like I kept falling, and after about 3 minutes, I still hadn't reached the point in which your character dies from just being so low in the world. So I made it a box because what it does is now I was messing around with, I think it's body position, where essentially the part just as long as it's unanchored, it just tries to drift towards that position. So when I set the things like thousands, so it just rams all the parts into each other.
That's really interesting, because although it sort of sounds like a stupid idea, it's pretty good to mess about with those sort of tech demos and just play about with different functions, test them to the limits. I think that's how you sort of learn not necessarily lots of scripting, but sort of a very specific kind of how scripting behaves, how optimization works, and ultimately what not to do in your game. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, some of my favorite games are just started as stupid ideas. Not stupid, and then they're awesome. I like that game Rockefeller Street, where you just start dancing to that song.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's that weird one where it's random. A guy spawns in. I don't even know if it's a guy. I think it's just legs and a head. And he's just white, and he has the chill face on, and he just keeps saying, still chill, and if you touch him, you get an achievement or a badge.
Yeah, exactly. Well, those little things, they're sometimes just fun to just play about with, and yeah, they just teach you some little bits. So we can now talk about the group that you help manage, Roblox Fame. Just tell us a little bit of background about that.
It was about 2 years ago. I applied for was the head assistant position of the group. Because he said it got a bit inactive. You need someone to help sort out all the ranks and help, get people to the proper rank that they're supposed to be in based on their play visits and whatnot. And I just applied, just thinking, yeah, whatever, I'll probably not get it. It'd be fun to apply. And then about a few weeks later, I remember this because I was watching, was it a Star Wars movie? I don't remember, but it was some movie, and I remember I was in the car, and I just looked at my phone. I wasn't driving, so I wasn't texting and driving. But I looked at my phone, he got a message, and he was like, after some consideration, I've chosen you. And then he paid for me to get a name change, because my username back then was Explosion101010, which isn't a super great name. So that's when I changed it to Jexpler. And I started moderating the group, and I wasn't a super great moderator for a while. I was a little too inactive because there were like thousands of, there were like I think 3,000-4,000 people that needed to be ranked. And then at a point, one of the other moderators became active again, and he ranked everybody, but then he became inactive again. And then a few months ago, I decided to just rank all like 2,000 people, which took a few weeks, but I'm trying to get the group to be a bit more active, so I made a Discord server, and I'm just trying to get just less of just a group that people hold ranks into, more of like a community where people can communicate and just talk about different like development or like trading, because there are a few there are like 2 ranks for people with certain limited values. But yeah, I just want it to turn into a bit more of what it was designed to be, rather than just, hey, join the group because why not?
Cool, yeah, because at the moment there's, I think it was 13,000-ish members. And as you say, sort of at the moment it's just useful for maybe tracking your progress in terms of the number of place visits you have. That's what it sort of means by fame. So that'd be really, really cool if you added a bit more and turned it into sort of a community-based functioning group. So one of the things that I was really interested in when I found it was your YouTube channel and some of the things you do on there. So you sometimes do like speed art, like speed GFX, those sorts of things, which is really interesting. So what was sort of the motivation behind recording that and putting it up?
Well, I'd always wanted to have a YouTube channel for something. Like when I started out, was this before? I don't even know if this might have been before I had Roblox, or I think it was maybe around the time I got it, like 2012. The first things I did were like Minecraft videos. It was like Minecraft survival games and stuff like that. Just because that was what I was doing at the time. A lot of stuff just kind of for fun. But then over time I started like changing the focus a little bit. And I was really trying to become like a gameplay channel for Roblox. However, there are already a lot of those. And a lot of those are like, I guess like characters where they're like overly energetic and like, I guess like kids channels like oriented towards, like it's just kind of, it's not really what I really wanted to do. I didn't want to, like be like a kids actor essentially, like an actor, for like kids entertainment, for like, 10-year-olds. I want to do a bit more, not intellectual stuff, but stuff for, slightly older, like teenage audiences, maybe, I don't know, some young adults who are just like developers in Roblox, that kind of thing. So I started doing, maybe it's like, I don't remember if I did a speed build or the first ones I did were speed drawings where so I don't know if anyone has it, you guys have ever seen it, but it's my profile picture, and it's got like, it's my head without a mouth, and then it looks like it's just kind of like 2D drawn, and then it has a background like a weird shadow thing. I believe it's HD. I don't know if he still has it, but he had that, like something like that as his for a while, and I did one for mine. I was like, this is fun, because I looked up how to do it, and so I did it for a few of my friends' avatars, and a few of them did pretty good. One of them got about 300 views, and so I've done a few of those. I did one of like a full character, not just the head. That one was kind of fun. But then I started moving into, I want to do some more like speed building, because I do like building. I'm a better builder than I always thought I was, because I always have a hard time thinking of like what to build or like what it should look like. So I did one based off of a picture, which really helped, because I could see what I was supposed to build. So I did that, and that one, it didn't do as good as I was hoping it would do, but I really enjoyed making it. So, and then I did a speed GFX one of the Senate Guard from Star Wars, and I also really enjoyed those ones. So I really enjoy making the speed builds and the speed arts or speed GFX, that kind of thing, because I don't even have to narrate. I just do what I like to do, and I just speed it up and post it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to watch as well. So I suppose now I sort of wanted to ask, out of everything, your GFX, a couple of builds you've done, the games, what's sort of the thing that you're most proud of, or that you think you did the best on?
Well, I'm really proud of my GFX, because I feel like that's something that's really come a long way, because when I started scripting, I was just kind of not really good, but GFX is something that I've kind of, since I started doing, I was always at least decent at it. Obviously, there was that learning period of what do I do and what don't I do, but that was mostly with like the after stuff. Like something one of my person told me is, what I was doing for some of my first ones is so obviously you position your characters and you render it, and then you go into something like Photoshop or Paint.net, you do editing, and usually do some kind of like particle overlay or like a lens flare in the corner. But what I was doing is essentially you could see the character's feet, which apparently is which I know now, but I didn't know back then, is a big no-no, unless you actually have a physical floor that you rendered in. Because then, even though sometimes you could position the background to look like they're standing on something, if you know what you're talking about, it's obvious. They're floating, and floating doesn't really look that good. But the one I'm definitely most proud of was the one I was saying earlier with the lightsaber and the grass and the cape, because it's something that I kind of want to make a series on. Maybe not for YouTube, just kind of a series for myself, I guess, which would just be me in random situations. So that one was me as like a chancellor. I'm thinking maybe me and like, I don't know, as a mobile task force person for the SCP genre, or just kind of putting my avatar in just random situations.
What's sort of the process behind going about planning one of those then? Do you just sort of wake up one day with a random idea and just go for it and see what happens, or do you kind of plan it out?
So most of my stuff that I've done has been like someone's like, hey, will you make this for me? I'll pay you, X amount of Robux. And obviously a lot of times they give me specifics of what they want, and that always helps, because they're telling me what they want, and then obviously I have a little bit of creative liberty with it, because they don't say, hey, I want this character to be this specific with this specific background with this exact text in this position with this font. But then it really depends, because a lot of stuff I've done is ads. Ads are always really big on like the Group Recruiting Plaza Discord, because most people there are like people who are trying to start up groups. So I do a lot of like group ads and stuff, and I've done a few group logos. However, the thing is, so there are 3 types of ads for anyone who knows anything about advertisements. There are the skyscrapers, which are the ones that are really tall but really thin. Banners, which are really wide but really short. And then there's square, which are square. And something that I was told by that guy that kind of took me under his wing was that you always want to do skyscrapers. Skyscrapers are always the best type of ads, because they appear most on Roblox, and they give you the best amount of room to play around with. Except for maybe Square. Square does kind of give you some more, but I think they changed where Square ads get placed.
I think they hid the squares off the games page, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Or something weird, they put like the bottom or something, like you have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the seam or something weird like that. But back then it was just Square, that's the only place Square ads appear, and skyscraper and banner ads appear like on the group page, development page, home page. When you go to Roblox.com, you're always going to see 2 skyscraper ads. So it's really good for placement. Because a lot of people are going to go into like a recent game or a game they favorited, and you're not going to see a Square ad unless you're browsing the games page. And in that case, you're probably going to want to be looking for a specific game, or you're looking for someone to play, not like a group to join.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's banner ads. Banner ads don't give you a lot of room to play with because, well, if you want to put a player, a character, a person, whatever, they're taller than they are wider, and then you pretty much can only fit their head unless you make them really, really tiny. If they make them really, really tiny, it just looks really bad. So that's why skyscraper ads are really good. The only issue is you kind of don't have a lot of room to mess with positioning because you can't really see their arms. You can see like a little bit of the arm, and that's about it. So some of it is kind of like a formula, just kind of thinking, I'm going to put someone in the middle of this ad, and then I'm going to put text here with some overlay stuff. But that's really mostly with skyscrapers because you don't have a ton of, extra stuff that's unique to your ad. The most unique part is just how you render, or the lighting setup, or the character you use, and just kind of just like a bunch. If you get a bunch of things that are common, then put them in just a unique combination to make it look different. But then obviously what you have the most creative ability with are, I don't think they're thumbnails, but it's the big 1920 by 1080 thing that you see when you actually click on a game, because that's it's the size of a desk of the average monitor. It's something you can put like it's the size of your computer screen. So, and you have enough to make like an entire scene, because you can put people, and it's still not weird like a banner where you don't have any height. You have height and length, which is really good because you have room to play with. You don't have to worry about cutting off someone's arm or someone's head. I've done a few as commissions. I did one for a group. I did one for a game. However, other than that, the only other one I've done was that one I did for myself with the grass and me as the Chancellor and Star Wars and stuff. Because if I just want to do something for myself, I just want to do just like the average standard, aspect ratio size and stuff like that.
Do you find these adverts, or rather find these jobs and apply to them, or do you sort of put yourself out there with a portfolio and people contact you? I'm
a little less active than I used to be. I used to be really big, and I really want to do GFX. It's good because, moneymaker, so I can either put out advertisements for like a group I might have owned at the time. And I was using it on, as I said earlier, the Group Recruiting Plaza Discord server, because they have a services page, which is like for if you want to hire somebody or you want to be hired, you can do that. And most people there, they want like ads and stuff. And obviously now now I'm a member of or a new member of the Dev Forum, which is obviously that's a bit more like not important, but you get like a lot of like recurring developers and like people who are actually making proper games with proper funding and a team that's most likely going to succeed. And obviously that it's a bit more competitive for jobs because you're dealing with other developers who really know what they're doing, probably graphic designers who are better than me. Because I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. People who have actually done like graphic design or animation or 3D modeling as like a college course, and then they can just apply all those skills to GFX Roblox, because comparatively to that, it's a cakewalk pretty much, because you only have to do like a fraction of the stuff. But I've done, I haven't done any stuff on the Dev Forum yet. I'm planning on trying to get myself out there, but I just want to build a bit more of a modern portfolio with a bit more of stuff that's on my current skill level. So a lot of my stuff is some of the older things I did. But the only thing I'm working on right now is for a SCP group. It was a guy who just kind of approached me because I've known him for a while. And I'm working on some group, it's for his game. So it's like thumbnails and logo, or thumbnails. So the square thumbnails when you see the game, like on the game page. And then the big, 1920, 1080 stuff, which is, I enjoy that because that means I have a lot of room to work with.
Well, that's all we've got for you today, so if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe or follow the podcast to make sure you don't miss any of our future installments. And why not get involved in the podcast by leaving us a voice message? I'll listen to it in a future episode and answer any questions. Use the Anchor app or find instructions to submit a clip manually on the BanTech Systems website. Thank you to our guest Jexpler for joining me today. You can, of course, find them on Roblox, where you'll be able to find links through to their social media profiles. Be sure to fill out the guest application if you'd like to feature on a future episode. You can find it at bantech.systems/btb-guest. Beyond the Blox is brought to you by BanTech Systems, a development studio creating interactive game systems and solutions on Roblox. Find BanTech's profile on Roblox and click through to the BanTech Systems group for more information. Don't forget you can listen to any episode of Beyond the Blox on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts and many other popular listening platforms. You'll also find it on the BanTech Systems YouTube channel. Thank you for listening and I'll see you on the next episode of Beyond the Blox.